John F. Kennedy, former president of the United States, icon and shooting victim back in the 60s. Today we're going to be spiritually analyzing one of the greatest presidents, in my opinion, but that's just my perspective. First, we're going to go into the psychology, the mind, this great man. Then we're going into the astrology, spiritual evolution he was meant to undergo in that incarnation, spiritual evolution stuff and consciousness stuff. And then we're going into the alchemy, the transformational process I would have recommended to him had he been my client. So first, powerful persona. John F. Kennedy knew how to put on the face, put on a mask for the public sphere. Very comfortable in the public eye. I mean, he was born to a prestigious family and had a lot of pressure and attention on him at a very young age. So it was something that he came into this incarnation naturally having a knack for because of the position he was in. But this also means that he was fake to a certain degree. He was acting for the cameras. He was acting for the public. He knew how to play the game. That means he wasn't being fully his authentic self, though. So he's not perfect, right? We all have a persona. We all put on a show. And John F. Kennedy was a master at it. He was very, very good at making you see what he wants you to see and falling for the illusion that he's able to cast. This made him charming. This made him charismatic. This made him magnetic. This made him president of the United States at such a young age. Because he was able to push the buttons that he wanted to push inside of you and polarize people and magnetize people and inspire people. But he was also emotionally guarded. So because he had this strong persona, because he was so charismatic and charming and knew what to say and how to say it and how to look and how to move to get people on his side, that means he had to restrict certain parts of himself. He had to contain and hide certain parts of himself to only show the parts he wanted you to see. This is the whole point of the persona. That means he had a very big, powerful shadow underneath all of that charm and charisma and star personality. He was also inspired. And by inspired, I also mean that, he was philosophical in his approach to being president. He had ideals and morals. He was genuinely inspired to be the man he presented himself to be. And by doing that, he also inspired millions of people during his life and after his life. And even though his presidency was cut short for obvious reasons, who's to say who was behind it, actually behind it, he had an impact that has lasted decades, and we still talk to him to this day with random YouTubers talking about his spiritual evolution, doing an analysis. Let's look at the astrology to look at the karmic patterns and the karmic energies and the spiritual evolution he was meant to undertake in his incarnation. To do that, we always look at the South Node, North Node, Rahu Ketu axis, the path of his consciousness during his life. So he starts off South Node, where he's karmically most comfortable, where he spent a lot of time in past lives, in Cancer in the 10th house. So he's a Libra ascendant, so the signs are opposite, they're switched. The natural 10th sign is Capricorn in the 4th house. The natural 4th sign is Cancer in the 10th house. So you kind of have this interesting balancing act. I'm also Libra rising, so you kind of have this dual balancing nature of the individual. So he has Ketu and Saturn in Cancer. Saturn, unfortunately, is starved there. So that means that he's going to present himself in ways that are fake. He also has a malefic in the 4th with Rahu. Rahu is an intense malefic. So this kind of goes into what I was saying. What you saw in the public eye was definitely not the true, authentic John F. Kennedy. Despite the fact that, in my personal opinion, my biased opinion, he was a good president, he did good things, and he was trying to do even greater things before he was taken out. Still, a lot of what we saw was not the real, authentic Kennedy. And we kind of saw this a little bit with some of the sex scandals he had, some of the infidelity. He was performing with even high-profile women. I mean, he was not trying to hide it. So that's just one aspect of his shadow. And I'm sure there's even darker aspects that have never even come to light. So when you have the South Node in Cancer in the 10th house, you have somebody who is emotionally controlled because that's Cancer, it's our emotions. You have Saturn there, so there's trauma, fear. So he has these traumas, these emotional fears, these emotional needs, desires that are incongruent with his true self. And when he was young, when he was a child, when he was a baby, he was nurtured in a way that neglected certain emotional needs, meaning that he was raised to believe that certain emotions, especially as a man, especially as a Kennedy, especially as a public figure, he was not allowed to feel certain feelings. He had to hide those away and lock them in a box. In the 10th house too, to be this public figure, because 10th house is the most visible, it's the zenith. The sun at 12 o'clock, 12 p.m., 1200 hours. So you repress your emotions, you hide your trauma, you hide your fears, Saturn, and insecurities to put on a brave face for the public sphere. What he was meant to do in his incarnation is Rahu in the 4th house with Capricorn, which is being emotionally vulnerable, tapping into his emotions and being resilient. Working to create a safe space, a material safe space, an environment for his emotions to be expressed authentically. So in his home, he was meant to share his emotions, be open, be vulnerable with the people around him, with his family, which is also the 4th house. 4th house is home, family, mother. Also our private life in general. But he was most comfortable in the public eye. And I'm sure at home, he wasn't allowed to express his emotions, even when he was at home, because he was a Kennedy and he had a certain title, he had a certain persona, identity, egoic attachment to what it meant to be John F. Kennedy. Now, I'm not too sure if he did that. I mean, you also have the Lord of Ketu in the 12th house, moons. That means, the 12th house is isolation. It can be confinement, subconscious mind. He was very thoughtful, very deep thinker, emotional, a lot of emotional depth. In Virgo too, so very analytical. He wanted his space to be clean and pure, most likely. He probably loved the idea of the White House. Virgo is purity. It's the young girl, is the symbol. But because moon there's no planets around it in the 12th house, he felt isolated. He felt alone on an island. But that was because he wasn't emotionally vulnerable. He wasn't willing to connect with other people and share his traumas, share his fears in a genuine way. So the transformation process I would have recommended to John F. Kennedy before he was taken out. Fidelity and monogamy. Part of the reason why he probably felt so alone was because he was unable to fully go deep with one individual. When you're spreading your seed, you're spreading your energy, exchanging with all these different people, you never go deep enough with one individual. In his mind, he most likely thought at a pathological level that I will find what I'm looking for in those other women, in those other connections, exchanging energy with a bunch of different people, through the public sphere, through my presidency. But really what he needed was a deep emotional bond connection with one person. It's how we spiritually evolve the fastest, is with one person. Going deep with one person as opposed to spreading our energy across a thin layer. Depth, not breadth. Emotional release. So, back then they didn't have emotional release. We do have that now. But also just, inner work in general, tapping into his emotions, really seeing how he truly feels. When you have Rahu in the 4th house, especially in Capricorn, you have somebody who is not honest with themselves and other people about their true feelings. So again, as a man growing up in the 60s, as a Kennedy, he probably felt insecurities, he probably felt doubts, he probably felt shame, but he wasn't willing to accept those emotions, accept his weakness, accept his vulnerability. He had to be strong, prominent, charismatic, and magnetic. He had to be on all the time, from his perspective. And then emotional vulnerability kind of ties in with the emotional release aspect, releasing those blocked emotions, releasing that fear that, for him, it had to be a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity that manifested in his assassination, pretty much, because how we feel internally manifests externally. It's mirrored out. But also, with his partner and with his family, with his kids, just being more transparent emotionally. And he could do that through journaling. He could do that through talking with his wife, being honest with her, being honest with his kids, and his family in general, whoever would listen, whoever he could feel like comfortable with. And he sets the precedent. As a Kennedy, as the man of the house, he could set the tone of, we talk about our feelings, we're honest, we're open, and despite the fact that I'm president or a public figure, I have this safe space, which is my home, which is my family, to release all of the pressure and the baggage and the energy that is blocked because I have to be this strong public figure for the people. I can release that at home. That's what I would tell him. Anyway, appreciate your time. Love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you.